Okay, so I'm going to be going over the questions that were on your Module 1 pre-assessment, just so that you have an opportunity to check my work against your answers. We will be releasing your answers to you as well through Mastery Connect. So the first one asked us to convert some fractions to decimal form to the nearest thousands place, and then place them in order from least to greatest. So for this, I need to have my calculator ready to go. 1/3, a fraction is the same thing as division. So to get the decimal equivalent of 1/3, I can just do our numerator divided by our denominator. So 1 divided by 3. And I see here that that is 0.333333. We wanted to round to the nearest thousandth. So I'm going to come over here and I'm writing, I've got 0.10ths, hundredths, thousandths. The reason that I left it at a 3 is because the number after the thousandths place was less than 5, and therefore I did not round up. The next one is 3/10ths, so that is 3 divided by 10, and I see that that is 0.3. This one didn't need any rounding. The next one, 33%. So for percents, we have to remember that percentages are always out of 100. So that's 33% over 100. Percents are always out of 100. Well, then now that's just 33 divided by 100. So I can go back to my calculator. I've got 33 divided by 100. And I can see that that is 0.33. So, oops, sorry. So I've got 0.33. Now, whenever we go to put our numbers in order from least to greatest, we want to make sure that we're keeping them in their original form. Before I do that, I like to number them off just so I know. Thinking about money, this is the least, this is the middle, and this is the most. And that helps me when I'm ordering. So putting in the original form, I've got 3/10ths, comma, 33%, comma, and then 1/3. Okay, for our next one, we're wanting to put these numbers in order from least to greatest, but on the number line. Again, it's easiest to have them all in the same form. So I'm going to start by converting any that are not in decimal or whole number to decimal or whole number. So I've got negative 75%. So that is negative 75% out of 100%. So that's going to be negative 75 divided by 100. Hopefully you paid attention to that calculator video, to which we have to make sure we're actually using a negative sign. Negative 75 divided by 100 gives us negative 0.75. So I've got negative 0.75. And then negative 5 can stay the way it is. Negative 3.5 can stay the way it is. Negative 2 can stay the way it is. 0 can stay the way it is. If you're not sure the decimal value of 1/4, it is okay to utilize your calculator. That is a negative 1/4. So I've got negative 1 divided by 4, and I can see that that is negative 0.25. So I've got negative 0.25. Okay, now I'm ready to actually place these on my number line. And I'm just going to go in order. So negative 0.75 is going to be between 0 and negative 1. This is negative 1/2, to which that means that this is going to be our negative 0.75. And I'm going to label it with the original number. And I'm just going to, undo. I'm just going to erase that original marker so that it doesn't look like I was marking that. Okay, negative 5. I've got negative 3.5. Halfway between negative 3 and negative 4. I've got negative 2. I've got 0. And then negative 1/4 is going to be halfway between 0 and negative 1/2. And so that's going to be right here. Oops, I just did a negative twice. I'm sorry. negative 1/4. So then now that number line helped us put our numbers in order from least to greatest. We've got -5, -3.5, -2, -75%, -1/4, and 0. Okay, next one. This time we're going to be solving for a variable. Whenever we're solving for a variable, our goal is to isolate our variable, get our variable all by itself. A good thing to remember whenever we're isolating a variable or solving for x, we're basically doing order of operations in the opposite order. So instead of doing parentheses, exponents, multiply or divide, add or subtract, we're going to go in the opposite order. So we're going to do add or subtract, multiply or divide, exponents, and then parentheses. That's our order whenever we are solving for x. Okay, so we are not doing this one, we're doing this one. Okay, so I always start on the side with my variable. We can see that our variable's over here on the right-hand side, and I want to get rid of everything else around the variable. First is any addition or subtraction. So we can see that they are adding on 10. So we're going to use inverse operations. We're going to do the opposite. The opposite of adding 10 is to subtract 10 from both sides of the equal sign. So now I have -60 is equal to -5x. Okay, there's no more addition or subtraction, so next I'm focused on multiplication and division. A number next to a variable is multiplication, so the inverse or the opposite of multiplying by -5 is to divide by -5. So I'm going to divide both sides of the equal sign by -5. So again, I can pull up my calculator. And I'm doing -60 divided by -5. And make sure you're actually using a negative sign, not a subtraction sign. So we know that a negative divided by a negative is a positive, which is why it makes sense that I got a positive 12. So then now I know that positive 12 is equal to x. I think we have another one over here on the side. Okay, same process. This time my variable is on the left-hand side, so I'm starting on the left. Okay. However, the first thing we want to get rid of is addition or subtraction. Now, it might not look like something's being added or subtracted. In fact, you might think that that's a -3, but it's not, because a number next to a variable is multiplication. However, I have this positive 16 right here. Positive 16 is like plus 16. So to get rid of it, we have to do the inverse or the opposite. So to get rid of a positive 16, we have to subtract 16 from both sides of the equal sign. So it leaves me with -3x, because that minus sign belongs to the 3. -3x is equal to, if you're not sure about your integer operations, again, use your calculator. So I've got -8 minus 16. And that gives me -24. Okay, my next step, a number next to a variable, again, is multiplication. So the opposite of multiplying by -3 is to divide both sides of the equal sign by -3. And that leaves me with x is equal to -24 divided by -3, which is a positive 8. So x is 8. Okay, let's keep going. So next we have some square roots and squares, which some of this might not be familiar to you, but that's okay. Square roots are very easy whenever they are perfect squares. So just like, I'm actually going to start right here with 6 squared. 6 squared, whenever we have an exponent of 2, means that we're multiplying our base times itself the number of times of the exponent. So that would be a number times itself. So I've got 6 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Similarly here, the number times itself, I'm doing it twice because the exponent's 2. That's 8 times 8. 8 times 8 is 64. Okay, well, similarly, a square root is the opposite kind of. I want to know what number times itself equals 49. What number times itself equals 49? Well, using my multiplication facts, I know that 7 times 7 is 49. So that means the square root of 49 is 7. So then we can come down here. What number times itself equals 100? Again, with my multiplication facts, I know that 10 times 10 equals 100. Okay, and again, if you watched your calculator video, we showed you how to do a square root. I could also come here. The square root is in blue above this x squared, so I have to hit second x squared, the square root of 100, get out of the radical, hit enter, and it tells me it is 10. Okay, I think we've got just two more. These are just combining like terms to simplify and solve. So whenever we are combining like terms to simplify, that is when you actually are using parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, and then add and subtract in this order. So although I do see parentheses, there's not an operation inside the parentheses. I don't see any exponents, so I'm starting with any multiplication or division. Right here, I can see that I have -7 times 2. -7 times 2 is -14. So now I have 21 minus 14 plus 15. There's no more multiplication or division, so now I'm going to add or subtract whichever comes first from left to right. So I'm going to start with 21 minus 14. So coming to my calculator, I've got 21 minus 14. That gives me 7. So now I have 7 plus 15. 7 plus 15 is 22. So this simplifies to 22. Okay, last one. Again, we're doing our order of operations, but whenever we're combining like terms, we have some things that are just integers, and we have some things that have a variable attached to them. Combining like terms means they have to be like terms to combine them. So since there's no parentheses or exponents or multiplication or division, we know that we're starting with addition or subtraction. I'm going to start by simplifying my variables. Here I have a positive 5x, and here I have a positive 7x. So I can combine those. I know that 7 plus 5 is 12, so that's 12 x's, and then I'm just going to rewrite the rest, minus 17 plus 32, okay? I cannot combine x's with my plain integers, so I'm holding off on that 12x, but now I can combine this negative 17 plus 32, okay? Come back to my calculator. I've got negative 17 plus 32. And that gives me 15. And that's a positive 15. So that's 12x plus 15 because it was positive. Now, we cannot combine anymore because this one has x's and this one does not. They are not like terms. Kind of like how hamburgers and french fries are not the same thing. You can't put them together. Okay, so this is actually my final answer, 12x plus 15.